Today is August 2nd, and it's 7:30, and we are in full session as of right now. We're going to read into the minutes, last conservation meeting, what was it, the date? July 12th,
Move to accept.
Second.
and all in favor? We're going to be continuing the case of 215 Adams Street. However, that has been closed.
Excuse me, may I be heard?
In 2 moments, when you let me finish,
Yes.
because we are going to
Fine.
discuss it, okay? So what we're going to do is we're going to vote on it, and then Jay Duker is going to take all of the people and speak with them. So you will be dealing with Mr. Duker as far as 215 Adams Street. So
We've dealt with him on 215 Adams Street, and we weren't satisfied.
Well, it is a closed case. We did discuss it last time, and I believe you had ample opportunity to say the things you wanted to say.
I don't think we did. We weren't shown the landscape plan that you had in front of us, but it wasn't made available to the people in the room.
Did you make it available to that woman that asked for it? We didn't have it. We didn't have it. Okay. All right, do you want to have the attorney is going to discuss the landscape, so why don't I have Bob Hines come up, and he can discuss the landscape, and anybody else that has any questions after, it can be continued out in the hall with Mr. Duker.
No, that wouldn't be a part of the public hearing. If it's going to be discussed, it should be discussed in the public hearing.
I'd ask for the vote.
It'd be illegal to discuss it out there.
I'd ask for the vote.
Do you want an extra copy to let them?
Yes, we have.
Oh,
Also, at this time, because the hearing is closed, I would like to vote on it with the commissioners that were there last week, including myself. And then we'll just continue this on and see where it brings us.
There are only 3 of us here who are there.
Correct. Yes, we're going to Jeff is the 4th person. So we will go to Jeff for follow-up and signing.
I would say it might be worthwhile if the comments that he's making were somehow just included to be read by the...
Well, I wanted Mr. Hines to present, and then the comments after we decide at that time what we're going to do.
Okay.
Is that okay?
Yeah.
So can I have a motion, please?
Motion to
Motion closed.
motion to close the hearing.
Second.
All in favor?
Okay.
Mr. Hines, at this time you have the floor.
Thank you, Madam Chairman, and three members of the board. As this board is aware, we were here last month. At that last month, we presented the project to this board. At that time, I know the board closed the hearing. They did ask us for your own convenience for us to provide you a plan of all the plantings that are going to exist there, what trees are going to be exist. We did bring the landscape architect here to explain that. We're going to be planting 30 trees in this area. In fact, one of the neighbors had asked, and we will do, you see those 4 trees there, we're going to move them here to block, give them more, probably add more there for her. And generally, that's the whole purpose of this meeting was that I know the board was hesitant voting last time, was to actually physically see it, not only be told about it. So we presented it, and this is what we're playing right now. I do have the landscape architect here to answer any questions this board may have. But we think we've satisfied. Again, there was an issue about trees being cut down. We're adding now 30 trees that do not include, I know that's a concern that they had last month, that do not include the trees that are now planted in the front. These are 30 brand new trees that will be planted here. And just this coverage, we're going to be planting more there. We did promise we will, and we will, because I know they want some screening to encourage the people across the street. So we have no problem. We actually talked about, at one point it was going to be 8 to 10 foot trees. We're looking at actually bringing them higher, planting them as the bigger trees. Though they're going to grow to 30, 40 feet could be, we are now looking into planting higher trees, so right away they will block for people. And mainly that's what we were told that before the board, and that's what we have here. We have a nice plan set up that covers all the concerns and replaces all the trees that may have been an issue in the past. Here for any questions the board may have.
Well, there was an exit that was problematic. You're putting a light.
The question was whether we're gonna have lighting in the parking lot. Yes, there will be lighting, but we spoke about the fact that we dim light. There was a light requirement that the city, as far as it cannot expand outside the property, won't. When we left here last time, we showed actually the kind of lights we're gonna have. We have them out here outside City Hall, not the bright ones, the dim ones. That's what we're gonna have. It's mostly so people, when they walk from their car to the door, they don't trip, there's nothing there. It's gonna be very dim.
You have a blind exit though that,
I can tell this board right now that we at one point spoke about putting a gate there. We're not gonna be, in fact, until we go further into this and deal with the building department itself, we don't plan on using that right now, and I'm telling that to the board right now. After reviewing what was going on, after reviewing the documents, after reviewing the project very closely, we're withdrawing from actually using that exit right now to go through further steps with the building department.
Is there any more questions from the board?
No, they provided the landscaping document that we asked for.
Okay, we're gonna open up the floor to any comments that are gonna be made.
On the landscape,
On landscape.
just on the landscape.
Just on the landscape, okay, go right ahead.
Hi, my name is Karen Gordon, I just have a question regarding the wetlands that's there. Is an
Where
area,
do you live,
oh, I
please?
live at 16 Anderson Road.
Okay.
So now with the new trees going in the back part of that section, there's an area specified for snow. Snow area when they plow the snow. So after that snow melts, where does the snow go if it's right on top of the wetlands?
It's plowed off of Furnace Parkway.
No, excuse me, it's plowed off of their property with their new road that they're putting in. In the parking lot as well. There's a couple of areas on that map.
They have a drainage plan that shows the new road. You want to take a look at it?
I have looked at it, and I saw.
Oh, okay, existing road that you're coming in,
Right,
the new road, and you're gonna have a large drainage area here and a drainage area here.
okay. So there's this, this is.
The gate is over here.
Okay, so the gate's here, and there's a garage here. This area here is marked for snow to be dumped here.
Yes, but now it's gonna have drainage areas that go into this area here.
Well, when snow melts, does it go into one side rather than the other side?
They
How are you
didn't-
gonna prevent that?
They didn't have, this is a drainage culvert right here that didn't exist previously.
Right,
So they've added one,
okay.
plus these other ones that drain here, here, and into here, from both sides of the road.
Now, who polices this to make sure that this is the way it works, that it doesn't go in? I'm just concerned about flooding. We are in a flood zone there, and when they plow the snow, and if that snow has been treated, those chemicals are gonna go into the stream, and the stream is gonna, you know, the wetlands, the plant's life there is going to deteriorate from that, those chemicals. So it's the whole, I mean, that's.
If I could just address your concerns. Madam Commissioner, Jay Duca for the record, Director of Inspection Services. The comments that are being heard tonight should only be related to the landscaping, not any of the drainage or anything that's already been testified to. That hearing's been closed, but because the comments come up, I think people should understand that this is a redevelopment project, And in a redevelopment project on a riverbank, the only performance standard is that you remain the same standard or you make it better. So they provided water management to deal with snow removal and all drainage on the site. Previous to that, the water and the snow drained into the river. It can continue to drain into the river. However, the applicant has made it better, but it's really not open for discussion. What's open for discussion is the landscape plan, and that's it. And the board should hear those comments and vote on the landscape and vote on the whole project. Thank you.
I'm Francis Goggin. I live at 16 Anderson Road. You just got your marching orders from the boss. You know, you are to rubber stamp this thing. You say you just got the landscaping plan, and none of you did any study in it's 2 seconds. Oh, he submitted it, okay. We'll accept
That's
it.
not true, that's not
I had
true.
an email to them.
That's not true, because I've been on the site, John has been on the site. We did receive these. I will tell you more information I found out also. The 10 trees that were taken down were dead. But how many of us knew that? So, I mean, if you'd like to walk it with one of us, that's fine, but we've already done that. We've done our homework. We waited for the plan to come in. John went on the site, I had been on the site.
Are you supposed to cut down dead trees on dead disease or not on the wetlands?
Yes,
Is that
they
legal?
did. Yes, it is
I
very
have
legal.
your,
Yes, I happen to live in the marina, it's very legal. We
do
take
you have
trees
a
down.
conflict with voting on this?
Not at all. Why would I have a conflict on voting on something on Furnace Brook Parkway and Adams Street?
Aren't the Peter involved with the marina?
Well,
If I could interject,
245
I hate to
units are
interject.
there.
Any challenge to a board has to be challenged in the general's office, not to the board.
Okay, we can do that.
Yeah, my name's Mike Lanford, I live at 19 Anderson Road. Really pleased tonight to see that the entrance is now off of the proposal. But with the entrance being off the proposal, I don't see a change for the landscape. So do we intend to do some additional changes with the landscape that's to take out the road? If we're not going to use the road, why can't we bring the trees all over? Because now we're still leaving an opening for people to be able, myself, to be able to see in there now.
The road has existed for many years, the road has not been used for many years. There is no necessity to actually close the road. It will not be used, it shall not be used, and it has not been used. So the expenditure of now closing that just doesn't, it's not, I would submit to you that the plan as submitted is accurate. The road won't be used, but there's no need to close that up.
Can I just follow up on that? That part of Mr. Duca's original finding was that that road was not to be used. And it was not, we were always told that it was going to be closed. So I guess here we are at the opportunity, why can't we just do it right? Because we've been told multiple things over the past year and a half. Now we're up in front of the board, can we turn around, can get the answer, and let's just take care of it now. So we're not dealing with this further down the road.
So if I may, the fact of the matter is the road, my finding for this project is that road is not to be used. It doesn't preclude them from improving the road, or maybe in the future, maybe using the road maybe 10 years from now, or for emergency access, or maybe anything that else comes up. It doesn't mean that they have to discontinue or abandon the road. So they're not going to use the road. That was the finding, that has remained unchanged, and I intend to make sure that they don't use the road.
And we appreciate that, but we're just saying, for good faith measure, if, you know, we're gonna follow Jay's lead here, and we're doing this work, why don't we just do it all right now? It's only gonna involve a few additional trees, it's gonna just turn around and taking some asphalt off and taking care of that issue.
It's an emergency exit that I would never, ever advise my client to eliminate. It's not going to be used, it has been used. But I can't sit there and advise my client that emergency access like that be totally eliminated. I just can't do that.
That was my understanding from the beginning. I think you're requesting him to just abandon the road. He's not obligated to do that. He is obligated not to use it, but it doesn't preclude him from improving the road.
Is he
And
gonna
leaving
have-
that option open, yeah.
Is he gonna have, gates with the card keys up there?
He's not gonna have a gate with a card key.
He's gonna do like it was when the nursing home was
It's
there?
gonna be a chain and whatever
A
is
chain,
there.
and the fire department will have, if there's an emergency, they'll be able to come in that way.
Mr. Gog, when I got wind of this, I called Mr. Graff and explained the whole situation to him, and I advised him to just keep it the way it is, and he's agreed to do that. But it still doesn't preclude them from leaving their options open for future use of the road in some small capacity or whatever. But that's a whole different meeting.
But, you know, Mr. Graff's past word to you
I know that.
was he was gonna do things that you asked him of. In the following week, he went right ahead and did what he intended to do.
Well, I don't want to go
Is
back.
this what we wanna have?
I
Mr.
can tell
Graff
this
again?
board that as I have a history here, I was
Yeah.
chairman of the board in the city, I'm telling this board, they're not gonna use that, they're not gonna use it at all, they're gonna abide by what the building department wants, what this board wants. So whatever history existed, fine, that's not my concern. My concern is, I'm giving this board my word that they're not gonna be using that road.
Point taken, and I'm satisfied with that. Thank you.
Is there anybody else?
Thank you. My name's Jean Plant, and I think this comment is for the landscaper. We were going over the plans, which looked terrific, and as we were talking, we mentioned the area just to the right of the existing garage that, as I understand, is going to be torn down. Replaced. You're correct. The one thing I want to make sure, someone made mention of the fact that we had talked about increasing the height, which was true, but taking 4 trees and moving them from other locations on the property. It may take 5 or 6, 7 or 8. I just,
We
the
will put in
purpose-
what's required and more than 4. I just said move those 4. We would agree to to block that whole area. So if it takes 6, 7, that's what we'll do.
That's grand. It's just to block the parking lot and the lights as the trees grow from the people who are living across the park. So, thank you very much.
Okay, is that the final reading? Did you get a copy of the landscape plan?
Paula came over yesterday and showed us exactly what was going to happen. It was very kind. Thank you.
So I am going to close this portion, and it was about the landscape plans for 215 Adams Street. Going on to the next one. Are we going to vote again? Oh, we're voting the landscape package in now? Okay.
Make a motion, we accept the landscape package
Second.
as submitted, yeah.
All in favor? Aye. All right, this is, the section for the landscape is now closed also. We're moving to 49 Babcock Street.
Yeah, good evening, ladies and gentlemen of the commission. For the record, my name is Steve DeRoche from the Ponset Valley Survey Associates, 95 White Street in the city of Quincy is our office. I'm here this evening presenting to you an RDA for number 49 Babcock Street 49 Babcock Street. Currently, there's an existing house on a 10,000 square foot lot. The Men's family purchased this property eons ago. And in the interim, both lots were combined basically into one. So we went before the zoning board of appeals last week to get a subdivision to have the vacant lot buildable. We fared well, except they wanted to see a smaller house on the lot, which we are in the process of preparing for them right now. But I'm coming before you with this project for an IDA, and the reason being is that it's basically just in a flood zone. It's a flood zone, it's due to coastal storm flowage, and there's really no mitigation that we could really do for this lot. So therefore, we don't believe that a notice of intent was really necessary for this project. What you see before you is an existing house, proposed house, I'm sorry, 24 by 40, 24 by 48, 46. And the new house is going to be something on the order of 24 by 36. The back of the house is coming, keep getting lopped off the last 10 feet or so. We're just going to have a driveway, going to be going under, but the entire structure is going to be flood-proof. And basically, we've done everything that we feel we've had to do for this project.
How deep into the flood zone are they?
The flood elevation is elevation 12. The base flood elevation, it's an 80 zone. And as you can see, our lot is down to the elevation 4.5. So about 8 feet into the zone. That's the back of the lot. We expect that we were going to be building the
structure
better part of the
itself,
structure. It's going to be about 6 feet.
6 feet.
Yeah. So we'd have to, actually the front of the house is around elevation 8.5. So there'll be about a 3 to 3.5 foot rise to the first floor from the exterior, set of stairs.
This is an RDA.
Yeah.
We do have to still do a flow through basement and garage?
So that'll be all taken care of, yeah. And we understand that it's all in our proposal to the building department to secure a building permit.
One second, because I'm a little confused on something.
Yeah.
31 Babcock, vacated an RDA, and we refused it, and we didn't get a notice of intent. Why are we not doing that with this?
That was at the request of the ward councilor, and that was, we just deferred to her request. I think she had asked that, but typically, we've done RDAs in the past.
Well, this had been brought before Margaret, and she had no problem with what we were doing.
If I may as well, Edward Fleming on behalf of the Menzies as well. The Menzies have done quite a bit of reach out. We've spoken with the city councilor. She's actually sent out a community notice to the neighbors. Doug Menz, a member of the family, has actually spoken to a number of the neighbors in the area. There's really no concerns were expressed by the councilor, or in fact, when we presented this matter to the Zoning Board of Appeals, she indicated that she was in favor of the proposal as it was presented. The only reason we didn't obtain relief from the zoning board last meeting is because they asked that we make the house a little bit smaller than had been proposed, and they wanted a little bit more explanation from the architect. But there's really been no concerns raised by the neighbors, by the community, by the city council to this application.
Thank you, Ed. Any questions on the board?
Well, I'm just a little concerned on the level of it, but
I'm sorry, Beth?
I'm a little concerned on the level, but the original house is in the same.
It's in the same flood zone.
Okay, so
It's elevated a little more than this site.
Okay.
none of the neighbors have had any feedback?
I'm sorry.
None of the neighbors?
I mean, there might be somebody here tonight, I'm not sure. But
There were no concerns expressed, at least at the zoning board of appeals, no neighbors expressed any
Let
concerns.
me ask, is anybody in the audience here for 49 Babcock?
I'd like to make a quick comment when the comments are open.
And we got one lady down there also. Are you about 49 Babcock?
No, I'm actually on 31 Babcock, but it's the same situation. If you build an 6 or 8 feet up, may I have your
Can
name?
we need your name for the record?
Virginia Duffy, and I'm at
And your address?
63 Babcock. I grew up at 29 Babcock, okay? My daughter now lives there, and her husband. But if you're building high, okay, the water, where's the water going? They get 4 feet of water in their yard. If you put a foundation there,
It's gonna be a flow-through foundation. There'll be vents in the foundation that's gonna allow flood waters to go into the structure. There's not gonna be a basement. It's gonna be a,
Yeah, I've seen that,
okay?
but it doesn't work that well, believe me, because the guy in back of my daughter.
Theoretically,
has-
theoretically it does.
Yeah, I guess, but they get 4 feet of water in their yard.
I mean, we're not displacing 4 feet of water over this house area. It's gonna still be there.
Yeah,
So it's not gonna be worse, it's only gonna be the same or better.
That's right.
so
I wouldn't say better, probably the same.
okay, so if you have the foundation that breaks through, so you don't build up around it, you can't slope down.
No.
You
You
just,
have to leave it open.
you have to leave it open.
Flood waters, yeah.
And you can't add, fill
No.
onto marshland, correct? Okay, so they can take out, but they can't put in,
That's correct.
okay?
Well, if the board is fine with an RDA for this, we're fine.
Question.
Are you fine
Yes,
with it?
it's doing it.
I'll go with the rest of it.
Yep.
Okay, I make a motion. Oh,
Yeah, can I make a comment?
No,
Thank you.
no, you may not. Oh, I thought you were asking me.
I had it on you the whole time.
John Orderfield, 62 Bramwell Road. The square footage of the new house, how big is that?
About 1,000 square feet.
So, I mean, is it a larger footprint than the house that's currently there?
I don't believe so. I think it's about the same.
I think the footprint of the house that was originally before the zoning board last time was a very similar size footprint. The footprint that they asked us to come back to them with is gonna be smaller. We're actually taking about 10 feet off the back of the house.
Which is
So it's
about,
gonna be about 24 by
260 square.
36 now as opposed to 24 by 48. You heard Mr. Akins' comments.
Yeah. Well, I mean,
Right.
basically, the zoning board, if you deny something, if you say someone can't do something, they can't even go to zoning. So this is almost like a stop. There's a lot of people that are asking, can we build a house in a flood zone? Can we do something in a flood zone? I think one of the things we gotta start doing at a city saying, if you do wanna build in a flood zone, you gotta have a conforming lot. This is a non-conforming lot. I mean, this is like 50 feet of frontage, just like the next one on 31's gonna be 50 feet of frontage, and it's in a flood zone. And I just wanna get on the record that there is one person in the city of Quincy that is against it, and I'm against this. Thank you.
Make a motion to close.
I'll second that.
You all set?
You gotta vote.
Yeah? All in favor?
Is that the close of the negative determination?
Yeah.
Okay, great. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Yeah.
117 Lansdowne Street.
Chairwoman, through you to the members of the commission. My name is Robert Dahlbeck Jr. I'm an attorney with offices at 115 Billings Road in North Quincy. I'm here representing Robert P. Dahlbeck, trustee of the Dahlbeck Realty Trust, my dad. We were before you on July 12th with an emergency order. There's a Chapter 91 licensed dock structure behind 117 Lansdowne Street that had a 2x12 main support beam break, resulting in an imminent danger of collapse of the structure. A contractor came in and took a look at it. Owing to the deterioration of the pilings, it was determined that it couldn't be repaired. The marine contractor came in and was able to rebuild the structure within 10 days. All the materials arrived by boat. They weren't tracked over the salt marsh. No equipment was in the salt marsh, and the project was completed. And I have some pictures providing 4 views of the different sides of the structure. Originally, the license provides for a 14.5 by 20 foot dock structure. It was actually scaled back. The frame dock itself was scaled back to 10 by 20. So we stayed within the footprint of the Chapter 91 license, which is required for that purpose. You're going to see in your packet, we received yesterday some comments from the Division of Marine Fisheries because the dock structure itself was below mean high water. We're required to file a copy of the notice of intent with the Division of Marine Fisheries. That was reviewed by their office, and unfortunately, in their review of the plan, they misread that in the application, and they sent you a letter that indicated that there was a 270-foot long pier, which in fact shows on the plan as an elevated boardwalk. No work was done to that or the float system, only the dock itself. They had some concerns. They mentioned about possibly relocating the walkway to a nearby ditch. I question whether that would have been proper under the Chapter 91 license. In any event, no work was done to that structure, no work was done to the float system. There was also several comments on the second page of that letter that went specifically to impacts on the salt marsh, and as I said, they were asking that construction equipment and workers not transit through the salt marsh. That did not happen. They were able to work from a boat and barge in front of the structure, which sat in the creek bed at low tide and was lifted by the salt water during the higher tides. They also indicated Google Earth imagery showed a float on the salt marsh to the south of the applicant's property. They questioned whether that was owned by the applicant. If it was, it should be removed. In fact, that is not owned by the applicant. The applicant's floats are located where they're intended to be under the Chapter 91 license. The construction methods proposed sedimentation control. The pilings, the 4x6 piles were inserted beside the previous broken piles, so there's no, that happened in the course of low and high tide, so there wasn't sedimentation that was escaping into the salt marsh. That was taking place in the normal inflow and outflow of the saltwater tides. And it said if there's a full rebuild, they'd like to, we recommend consideration of shifting the pier into an adjacent ditch. There was not a full rebuild. That 270-foot walkway was not touched. So Jillian Carr was the person from Division of Marine Fisheries, and I was able to send her an email yesterday. We only received her comments yesterday, but I was able to send her an email addressing those comments and providing the information which I just provided to you. I do have some pictures. Of the finished product, which I can share with you. Madam Chairman, may I approach?
Sure.
These are the pictures that you can view. They're the 4 views of the structure. You can swipe from side to side. There's 4 photos there. So we have backed into the paperwork and provided you with the notice of intent as requested, and which we indicated we would at the July 12th meeting. So questions?
No questions of the board?
No.
Is there anyone in the audience for 117 Lansdowne? Taking that into consideration, we're gonna close. 117 Lansdowne,
Move to close.
we're all set, take a vote.
Second.
Thank you. All set?
All set. Thank you, Madam Chairwoman, thank you, Commissioners.
Okay, is anyone here for 31 Babcock?
We've already done 49, we're doing 49. Good. Papers in order. 215,
Yes,
yes,
Good evening, my name is Darren Grady. I'm with Grady Consulting, and I'm here on behalf of Donald Smith for the project at 31 Babcock Street. The entire site is in an AE13 zone, and the project is to raise an existing garage that's shown on the plan in this area here, and construct a 24 by 36 square foot house. We were here last June, and we filed an RDA. We were asked to come back with a notice of intent. One of the reasons we were asked to come back is because the abutting residences were concerned about drainage. Although the project is exempt from stormwater management standards, my client had asked me to design a small berm system that's shown in the back. So we've added a depression back here and a small berm. The berm's about 9 inches, and it's a very gradual berm, but it will hold back a little water. The difference in square footage between the existing garage and the proposed house is very small. It's like 160 square feet. So the difference in stormwater is very small too. That will accommodate what we're putting on for additional impervious. The building's design will flow through vents, and yeah, I think it's an improvement over the existing site. If you have any questions, I'll be happy to answer them.
Do you have any questions from the board?
Are you gonna be set back as far as the existing garage is?
No, the existing garage is actually very close to the lot line in both the rear and the side.
So you're moving it forward.
We are moving it forward. We're trying to center
And
it
the
on the
elevation
line.
is higher.
Yes, the elevation is higher.
I can't seem to find that map. Hang on. Is it there?
It should be.
That's one. There it is. Thank you. So the garage is also going under?
The garage is under, but it's at grade as well. And it's going to stay as a gravel floor. There'll be no impervious.
And flow through.
Exactly.
Any questions from the board?
Well, actually, if it does flood, then it floods the garage. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Anything else, Sean?
Nope, we went by there today.
Okay.
Yep.
I'm gonna open it up to the floor. Is there anybody for this or against this in the audience? You can come forward and speak.
Good evening, Anthony Monaco, 29 Babcock Street. I have concerns regarding the flooding. As a previous Good evening. As somebody previously mentioned, my house, next door to the lot in question, takes on a considerable amount of water. Both the yard in the back, which has been under multiple feet of water in previous storms, and my basement, which has been under a foot plus of water. My question is, where the home being constructed is on a higher elevation, as mentioned, how will that affect the runoff into my yard as opposed to, I know we're talking about the flow through and it's gonna flow into the berm in the rear, but that doesn't help me up next door, basically.
Do you want to address that?
Sure. We're not taking any more flood storage than what we're taking with the garage there. We've actually made the improvement with excavating a small amount out of the backyard to add storage volume onto our lot. And that's how we're proposing to make the site a little bit better.
So you feel it's going to be better than it is now?
Correct. I'm not fixing the whole flood zone, but we are making this site better.
Anyone else in the audience?
Yeah, I have a question. What's the difference in square footage between the property?
We can't hear you back there.
Oh, okay.
And we need
I'll
your
speak
name and your address.
My name is Bruna Saniai, and I grew up on 36 Hilton Street. My question is, what's the difference in square footage between the two properties?
Between the garage and in the house, it's 169 square feet.
The difference between the two?
Yep.
Okay, I wouldn't consider that little, because I believe you mentioned that was going to be insignificant, so that's a pretty big difference between the current property and the additional property. So I just want to reiterate, I think we spoke last time, and we want to reiterate our opposition to this, just because that area is already really congested. It gets a lot of flooding. As I mentioned, I grew up there, and it's always difficult for me to get out of the driveway. It's constantly flooded when there's even just little moderate rain. So if you're congesting that area with additional properties, it's going to be a swamp land. All those properties will be affected. We already get a lot of flooding in our house, so it's not a good idea to build on in an area that is already a little congested. I would say the foundation is also really, really poor. If you check your records, there haven't been any improvement to that drainage in the last 20 years. So it's a really bad idea, and I strongly urge you to vote against this. Thank you.
Question, are you the builder?
I'm the engineer.
Yeah, you're gonna build it on stilts?
It's going to be a foundation.
What, are you gonna pile drive?
No, it'll be on footings. Is that right?
What is that?
The foundation will be on footings, right?
Foundation and footings with flow-through vents.
Yep.
It'd be a flow-through foundation, though.
Exactly.
What is the existing square footage of the house now?
The garage is 664 feet, 690 square feet.
And the entire house?
864 square feet.
And you're adding 169 to the 864,
No, to the 640.
640.
So the existing garage is located back here. It's at 690, and the 24 by 36 structure that is proposed is that 64.
So basically, it's a small house.
I have one. Anasaspano 36 Stoughton,
What's your name?
we're, Anasaspano 36 Stoughton, we're right behind the proposed. I too come before you to ask you to be opposed towards this intent. Primarily the reasons would be that the new building would be bigger. The current structure that is there floods, and with that being raised completely, then there's going to be more flowing water coming towards our properties. Number three, if you look at the plan, there is a slope that is now being added or built to around this house so that the water gradually floats into the abutters. The other thing that absolutely makes no sense, there is a gravel driveway, I believe, that will be added instead of what the soil land is there as it is. And those are the primary reasons why I would like for you to vote against this. This supposed to be, or whatever, this addition that they're willing to build to sort of help with the water coming towards, to protect us from any more water coming towards us. Is there any studies have there been done from the proposing engineer or builder of how much this will help us not getting more water? Given that, like I said again, those three main reasons are the new building is bigger, there's a slope, and there's absolutely no studying on top of them proposing the water to just go to the abutters. Before you, last time that we were here, there were also the neighbors right next to them, and here are the ones right on the side of this property, as well as I believe Tony, that Bob that couldn't make it in because he's got a 6 triple bypass. Thank you.
Anybody else?
Question, did they say,
Hi, Virginia Duffy, on 63 Babcock. Question, is it going to be on a slab? No. Footings?
It'll be on, footings.
Footings, so that around it will just be, what do they call?
It'll be a foundation, but it'll flow through vents, so the water that rises.
So what are you saying, a foundation,
Like
just
concrete.
concrete walls? How can that flow through?
They have vents.
Vents. But doesn't that take up space in the ground so that water can't go down into the ground? I guess
That's what we were just kind of discussing here, was
Yeah,
the fact that
I guess I just don't get how it works
in
that.
certain areas, we require that they put pilings, but they gotta do soundings in the ground to see what the soil content is. You know, and that's an added cost to the owner.
Yeah,
And
I mean, to me, when you add something into the ground, it's taking up space, that would be absorbed.
Maybe let me try to explain the whole theory behind a flow-through foundation. When you're in a flood zone and it's coastal flowage that affects the flooding, it's influenced by the sea and the ocean. When a structure is built in a full foundation, it's required to have automatic openings to allow that water to just flow under the building as if the building wasn't there. And the only space that building is taking up is the actual perimeter of the foundation, the thickness of the foundation, and the the length of the perimeter all totaled up. The underneath, it doesn't have a footprint per se. It's
So-
just, the only thing that's in the ground is the actual wall of the foundation.
Okay, so let's say that the foundation, we get the pilings, right?
Well, you'll either have pilings or a full foundation. Either way, a pile takes up space in the ground as well.
Right.
The foundation is gonna take up that much space, but it's not taking up a whole 1,000 square feet footprint
So
of
if
water.
you have, let's say you're saying a foundation, right,
Yep.
like that?
Yep.
Okay? So then you have the lattice work, or whatever it's called,
Correct.
okay?
That's correct. Yeah.
So how high is that, from the ground to the lattice work?
It doesn't matter. What matters
It
is,
does, because the water comes in,
No, no,
and how's
so-
it gonna?
a good point, but the height of the building doesn't matter, and the size of the hole doesn't matter, as long as the water can get in there and equalize. So the
Right.
ocean, it's gonna get in there whether the hole's this big
Yeah,
or this
exactly,
big.
but I'm saying, how high is it? How high is the lattice work off the ground?
It's gotta be within 6 inches of the ground.
Because if it's 2 feet,
No,
it's
it's gotta be
just
within,
gonna keep going
no, the
back.
requirement, the FEMA requirement, it's gotta be within 6 inches of the ground. It can't be any higher than 6 inches off the ground.
Okay.
So, and that's a federal requirement
Mhm.
in a flood zone anyway,
Mhm.
for that reason. But let me explain one more thing if I may.
Okay.
If you're at a beach and the water's quiet and you're sitting on the beach and there's no wave action, if you put an aircraft carrier on the beach,
Mhm.
that water is not gonna come any higher up because the ocean is infinite. It's just infinite. As opposed to if you're inland and you have a lake and you put a battleship on a lake, that water is gonna go somewhere else. So when you're influenced by coastal flows by the ocean, you're not, theoretically, it's infinite. You will not cause any further water because it's the ocean. It's just
Oh, I
infinite.
know the ocean.
What's that?
I've lived there all my life.
No, I'm not saying it doesn't flood, and I'm not saying it's not
Oh,
a
yeah.
problem. I'm just saying that when you have these flow-through foundations, it will not, it's just physically impossible to create more problems.
Was it a 78?
It would be
My
less-
parents
it would
got
be
taken
less of
out
a
by
problem.
boats, you know?
If you can visualize a box with nothing letting it go, and now you're gonna have a flow through, at least the water's gonna flow. I mean, this is gonna be better than the existing now,
No,
because you have a flow through.
you may have a flow through now, but right now you have a smaller garage that floods. And now you're saying a bigger house will be better?
I'm saying the foundation will have flowage going through it.
So the garage right now has no flow-through. It takes up a whole space. The new house is gonna have flow-through. The only space it's taken up in the ground is the thickness of the wall of the foundation.
That garage with the stone foundation that it
Yeah.
has more flow through than what any possible study they can bring in to show. And furthermore, if that's the case, let's have a study on how much flow will there be,
Well,
if we can ask
you know,
for that.
that'll be up to the committee. I mean, studies have been done, there's federal guidelines that addresses all this, and
And if they want to invent, we
I-
ask that they produce one.
I would just leave you with the battleship theory, that it's just, it just can't create more water. It just can't.
It's gonna create less.
It'll be less.
But how could it be less when you're saying that the new structure will be bigger?
But it will be flowing.
Flowing where?
It's going to flow anyway where it's going, but now you're gonna have a flow through basement and garage. So now it's gonna flow, it's not gonna get locked up and then flood.
Yeah, it's
It's gonna go right into
gonna,
our backyard.
right, and
Well,
the
yeah, it
flooding,
is-
and the
I mean,
flooding
it is
structure.
what it is. Yeah,
Right, and the
this
flooding
is
structure
not
that
gonna
was there.
stop your flooding.
So the flooding structure that was there, that floods, because obviously if that garage floods, which that means that garage is floating better probably than the structure that they're supposed to be doing. So it's the same thing, except that you're saying, sure, we'll allow a bigger one?
It's almost as if you're directing the flood into our property.
Either
Like,
way
when
is I
think of
don't-
flow through, you're directing water to a specific location, and that is affecting neighbors' properties. You have to consider that.
Either way is,
As they're mentioning, I mean, the new structure is gonna be at a higher elevation as well, and you're removing what's effectively a backstop for the water now for these guys out back, and allowing this water to not only flow through, but flow downhill unimpeded into their yard, into our yard. I don't see that this is even remotely a
Because we're
good
lower
idea.
than where they are right now, we're like down.
Yeah, no, that's kind of right.
Either way, we're obviously, we're opposing this. We're asking for you to oppose it.
Please, yeah.
The existing garage is here, they're gonna put it down to the house there.
I'm just gonna get up and reiterate